I'm going to show you how to set up and run the new Google add-on called gClassFolders. Now, gClassFolders was a script and it went away for a while, but it just got released as an add-on. gClassFolders sets up class folders for you that you can then send out documents using Doctopus. Doctopus is an add-on that does allow you to create folders, but what I like about gClassFolders is it allows you to create folders for all of your classes and different class periods all at once. So the way that you would use gClassFolders is the first thing you need to do is create a new spreadsheet. So in my Google Drive, I'm going to go to Create Spreadsheet. And what I'm going to title it, I'm going to change it from Untitled Spreadsheet to gClassFolders. And I'm going to give it the school year. In this case, it's just for June 2014. But you want to be able to find this document, because if you want to add students as they come into your class throughout the school year, or if any students leave your class, you want to delete them from this list. So I put the date and I call it gClassFolder, so it's really easy to search. Now I'm going to go up to my add-ons, and I need to get the add-on for gClassFolders. So in the search bar up on the right, I'm going to type in gClassFolders all as one word. And it is blue and it has a plus free sign. I'm going to click on that button, and then it's going to ask me to give access to gClassFolders. So I'm going to accept these terms. And now up at the top of the page, there'll be a little pop-up right here by add-ons. Here it is, and it tells you what to do to start using the add-on, to go to the initial setup from the gClassFolder add-on menu. So I'm going to go back up to add-ons, and now I'm going to choose gClassFolders initial setup. And it's working. It takes a minute, and what's going to happen is it creates a spreadsheet for us, and it gives us some information on the right hand side where you can go to a tutorial to get more help. You can also change the label names. So when it creates folders for your students, they have some default names. I get an error message, but if I click OK, it tends to work. Here it calls them assignment folders. Maybe you want to call it something different, so you can change it. But these are the default labels. I always keep it as this, but this is I showed you this so that if you do want to change it, you know how. And so now in my spreadsheet, I'm going to add in a list of my students. Alright, now I have created my class roster. Generally I have a lot more students than 3, but since it's the summer and school's out, I don't have any students to show you how to do this with, so I've just created some fake students. I put in their email addresses, their classes, and you can notice that for biology I have a class period 1 and a class period 2. And so what will happen is it will create a biology assignment folder, but inside that I'll have folders for each of my classes to help it be a little bit more organized. I also, for AVID, I didn't put a period because I only teach one class of that. And notice up here for teacher emails. For teacher emails, you want it to be your email address. But if you co-teach a class, you can actually have a second teacher be an owner of the documents and folders as well. And you would put in a comma and then that teacher's name. Now that I have my roster complete, I'm going to go back up to add-ons and gClassFolders, and now we can create our folders. And when it does this, it takes a minute, and it's going to create a second sheet called Properties, which it did for a second and disappeared. It should show back up here in a minute, but it also created some other columns right here. Columns G through N are, you only see G through O, it kind of condensed them. It gives you all the folder keys and other information that you don't really need to look at. But it created folders for these classes. And it's weird, my other tab disappeared. When I've done this before, I have another tab with properties, so I'm a little concerned that that's not showing up right now. But now that I have these folders, I can look into my Google Drive, and you can see here's the spreadsheet, but over on the left-hand side, I just called the class AVID. That's the wrong AVID folder. So here's the AVID folder that I just created. One thing that I'd recommend doing that I didn't do this one time is I wouldn't call it Avid, because you can see it's getting confusing with some of my other folders that I previously had. What I would actually recommend doing is here where it said biology, I would put something like biology and then for next school year 14-15, and that will make it a whole lot easier to separate your classes each year. I didn't do that, but highly recommend that you do that. So now here are the 4 folders that it created for me. One is an Avid View folder. Anything I put in here, any of my students in this class can view. Any document that I put in this Avid Edit folder, any one of my students can edit. So this would be if I wanted the whole class to collaborate on one document. Here is the Avid Teacher folder, and that's where I put my templates and my important documents. And then in the assignment folders, here you can see it created folders for each of the students. I only had 1 student in this class, so you only see 1 student here. If I go to my class from this past school year, you can see in my Avid folder, I have right here a bunch of students that it created folders for, and it created it with their name and then their class, Avid 13-14 for that school year. So here's my biology folder, and it created the same ones, and here for the assignment folder, it created 2 separate class periods, so my classes stay separate, and it might be a little easier when searching for students. Now back to the gClassFolder spreadsheet. If I have a student that happens to leave the class and I want to get rid of their folder, I can click on their name, go up to Add-ons, gClassFolders, and then I can choose Tools, Manage Students, and then I can delete that student and it will delete their folder. So I can fix the student email, remove that student, or rename that student. When I remove it, it keeps the removed folder in a like archive folder, which I normally then go and delete later in the year. If I have a student that joins the class partway through the year, because you're always getting new students, you can go ahead and just add in their information right here. So let's say new student. Okay, their email address, their class period, and teacher email. Now notice that there's nothing in the status box. So when I want to add this student, I'm going to go to Add-ons, gClassFolders, and Create Folders. And it's not going to create brand new folders for every single student. It's only going to create folders for students that do not have anything in this cell on the spreadsheet. So you don't need to worry about creating hundreds of folders for each student every time you add someone. It will just add that new student. Now there are some other options in the gClassFolders menu. One of them is to send actual files or documents to students. And it's a cool feature. However, I prefer to use Doctopus to send out documents to students. You have a lot more options when you send out documents with Doctopus. You can embargo them, you can add the rubrics, the rubrics, and in gClassFolders, if I send a file, it will just send a file to their folder. It doesn't give me all the different options that Doctopus does. When I run Doctopus, I can actually create rosters using this list, this class roster here. So that is an option to use both of these together, and that's what I prefer to do. That is how to use gClassFolders.